It is Monday, it's the 1st of July. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. Making news today. Protesters in Egypt have stormed the main headquarters of the Muslim Brotherhood in Cairo and set it on fire. Both pro- and anti-government factions brought hundreds of thousands of people onto the streets at the weekend. At least 5 people were killed in clashes on Sunday. The protesters are calling for President Mohamed Morsi, who's backed by the Muslim Brotherhood, to step down. A new opposition group named Tamarod has demanded Mr. Morsi's resignation by Tuesday afternoon. Now, we have some pictures that really give you a bit of an idea of the scale of these protests. This was taken outside the presidential palace in Cairo. Well, it has been 1 year since Mr. Morsi was elected president. Many of the protesters complain that he hasn't done enough to improve living standards. Joining us now live from Cairo is Ian Lee. And Ian, some people would argue that, well, a year is really not long enough for Mr. Morsi to have to do what he needs to do right now.
Well, that's exactly right, Monita, and that's what we're hearing from the Morsi government and his supporters.
Thank you for that, Ian Lee there in Cairo. They were an elite squad who dared to fight the biggest fires from up close, but on Sunday it cost them their lives. 19 Arizona firefighters were killed when a blaze on a hillside northwest of the city of Phoenix overtook them. It happened as they were trying to create a fire break to stop it spreading. There in Yarnell in Arizona, of course, our meteorologist Tom Sater will be bringing more on the weather conditions there and the fire, plus the heat wave behind it later on in the show. You are watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. You are watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. I'm Monita Rajpal. U.S. President Barack Obama arrives in Tanzania in just a few hours for the last leg of his 3-nation tour in Africa. His visit comes at a time when much of Africa and the world waits for word on the health of Nelson Mandela. South Africa's anti-apartheid icon remains in critical condition in hospital in Pretoria. On Sunday, the Obamas went to Robben Island, where Mandela was imprisoned for 18 years. But today, it's all about business for Mr. Obama. Nema Albagir joins us now from Dar es Salaam with more on the kind of catch-up role that the United States has to play when it comes to the business that Tanzania has already been doing with China. Nema?
Absolutely,
Some of the other stories that we're following for you here on the show. Washington says it's using diplomatic channels to try and smooth over relations with its allies in Europe. Politicians in the EU are furious over allegations the U.S. National Security Agency spied on European leaders by eavesdropping on their offices in the U.S. and Belgium. The allegations stem from secret documents said to have been obtained by NSA leaker Edward Snowden. And a change of mood on the streets of Brazil as the national football team beat Spain in the Confederations Cup final on Sunday. Grievances about living standards and heavy-handed policing were momentarily put aside after the team won 3-0 against the current world champions. At least 47 people were killed and 90 injured in 2 bomb blasts in Pakistan on Sunday. 17 died in an attack on a military convoy near the northwestern city of Peshawar. The other 30 were killed by a suicide bombing in a Shiite Muslim district close to the city of Quetta. New Australian Prime Minister, well, newish, Kevin Rudd has chosen his cabinet. It contains 11 women, 2 more than there were under his predecessor, Julia Gillard. There were a lot of positions to fill. 1/3 of the front bench resigned when Mr. Rudd defeated Ms. Gillard in a leadership election last week. And someone may be entering Australian politics. Bit of a tricky situation. Hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets of Hong Kong to push for greater democracy in the territory, but pro-Beijing factions are staging counter-rallies too, as Hong Kong marks the 16th anniversary of its return to Chinese rule. Nick Robertson spoke to people along the route of the protest march.
This is Hong Kong's biggest annual protest, held every year on the anniversary of the handover of Hong Kong to China from Britain.
Well, some lawmakers in Mumbai, India, want to crack down on the display of lingerie on store mannequins. They hope a ban would help reduce the number of sexual assaults on women. But as Malika Kapoor reports, critics say supporters of the ban are missing the real problem.
These lingerie-clad mannequins were hard to find in Mumbai.
CNN News Center live from Hong Kong, planting seeds of hope in poverty-stricken Haiti. When we come back, how some Haitians are You are watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. Haiti is one of the world's most deforested countries, and the landscape is largely dry. But as CNN special correspondent Philippe Cousteau reports, an urban garden is flourishing in one of the country's poorest communes. Let's get the latest on the fires in Arizona. Our meteorologist Tom Sater is at the World Weather Center with the latest details on that. Tom.
Well, unfortunately, Monita, we may have more fires that'll be breaking out in the desert southwest of the U.S. 53 degrees, and it looks like it will continue for days on end. And that's the unfortunate thing, because the human body doesn't have time to recuperate. We're going to see hundreds head to the hospitals most likely in the next day or so.
Yeah, it's not an easy situation at all, Tom. Thank you very much for that update. We appreciate that. You are watching CNN News Center. I'm Monita Rajpal at CNN Hong Kong. Thank you for joining us. I'll update the news headlines in just a couple of minutes.